I'm the kind of person that has a lot of favorite things, from movies to TV shows, even to different kinds of food. I love to love things, and there is nothing wrong with that. The same is true for books that I have read over the years. There are many books that if somebody were to ask me my opinion on it, I would say it is one of my favorites. And while that is true, recently I have been thinking, what are like my top favorite books of all time? And I've given myself some criteria to kind of compare these books to see how they kind of rank up. And so, what I consider a book to be my favorite of all time is number one, if I just fell in love with the story and the way it was written, kind of a big deal, but that's true. Two, if it's something that I constantly will think back and reflect on, even if it's been months or years since I've read the story, definitely is up there for a favorite. And then three, if the story had some fundamental change to my perspective, whether it was on a certain genre or the way I view things, if it affected me in that way, then it is going to be one of my favorites. And so I have 10 that I'm going to share with you guys. I have not placed them in any numerical like ranking order, but I will say the last one I'm going to share is the one that is my favorite book of all time. If people ask me what my favorite book is, it's the answer that I give. So that will be the number one slot. But the rest of these, I couldn't give them a ranking because I love them all equally for different reasons. So the first one I'm going to share today is a nonfiction book, and it is called Code Girls: The Untold Story of American Women Codebreakers of World War II by Liza Mundy. Fun fact about this book, this was actually one of the first books that I read after being in a really long reading slump. College really affected my love of reading. Sad but true. And it took me a while to be able to get out of that slump and get back into reading. And surprisingly, this was one of the books that did that. It's a book that goes through the stories of multiple women who were asked to be code breakers during World War II. And when they were asked to do this, they had no idea what they were getting into. They came from a variety of backgrounds, but what they had in common was they were all smart, intelligent, capable women. And the work that they did caused the war to be over, which is incredible and amazing. So I love this book. I constantly think about this book, which is funny for a nonfiction book, but it is so good to the point where I actually listened to the audiobook of it because, again, I was just starting to get back into reading. But I went and found a paper copy so I could own it and have it on my bookshelf because I loved it that much. So this is definitely one of my favorite books of all time. I love it. I'm going to say that a lot. It is okay. The next one is probably a controversial one for some people because in a previous video, I talked about where my lore started with reading, and I talked about a couple of things that may come into play with some of the books here. One of those was the Hunger Game trilogy by Suzanne Collins. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions about which of those books is their favorites. And this is my favorite from the trilogy. And think of it what you will. I will share why it is my favorite, and you may feel differently, and that is okay. But it is Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins. Now, there is a lot of people that have a lot of opinions about this book, and all of your opinions are valid. You feel how you're going to feel. That's a beautiful thing about literature. Interpretation is there, and your emotional response to it is also there. So you feel what you got to feel. It is what it is. But the way that the story wrapped up, the whole arc of the Hunger Games trilogy, I feel like this was the perfect way for it to end. And I remember reading these books years and years and years and years and years ago, and getting to this book and not knowing what to expect, but finishing it and being heartbroken. Okay. It was so sad, but just being like, yeah, that makes sense. And talking about things really affecting you. This whole series like was fundamental for the way that I view certain things today. But this particular book is one of my favorites. And even still, it is my favorite, I think, out of the whole series. Sunrise on the Reaping is now up there. I think I'm just a sucker for a really sad book, if I'm being honest. Something that has like an emotional reaction for me. I'm like, yes, this, love it. But Mockingjay, I love this book, and it's very sentimental to me. This is actually the copy that I read many, many years ago. When I moved out of my parents' house, I got to take them with me, and I love them a lot. And so that is another one of my favorites. The next one is a book that some people may have heard about. This version I just got recently, which is beautiful, and it is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. I am not a person that typically likes stories that time hop. At least that's how I used to be. This book changed that for me because it does hop around in time, but Sarah Penner does such a great job with crafting this story and intertwining the different people that it made me really enjoy books that have this perspective. And there's another book that I'm going to share that I also love that is a time hoppy book as well, but it started with this one right here. And I recently got the collector's edition. It has these beautiful edges on it. Fantastic and beautiful, but I love this book. It's a great book. 10 out of 10 would recommend, as I would with all of these. The next one that I'm going to share, and I hesitated for a minute because I was like, ooh, is a book that changed how I viewed certain genre of writing, which is more of like the thriller kind of vibe. And this one's not super thrillery, I'll be honest, but it has more in it than I normally do. I'm a person that I don't like scary movies. I don't like things that are purposely scary. I don't go to haunted houses. It's just not my vibe. But this book was like completely game changer for me. And it's called The Physic Book of Deliverance Dane by Catherine Howe. I got this book from a thrift store because I just thought it looked cool. And then I saw on the front, it literally says spooky. And I was like, what have I done? I'm never going to read this book. There's no way. I read this as part of a reading challenge. And by the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but the reading challenge that I have done now for 3 years, and what really helped me kind of get into the rhythm of reading again and finding things that I enjoyed reading, is a reading challenge that Book Roast on YouTube does. And it's a year-long reading challenge. Go check out her channel. I love what she does. She's a phenomenal creator, and I definitely think if you are wanting to get into reading or find a community who also loves reading, going and being a part of that reading challenge is the best way to do it. So you should go check out Book Roast on YouTube. Back to this. I loved this book. And guess what? It is a time hoppy book, but it is that kind of that dark academia vibe, which I had tried to read a book that is a very well-known dark academia book, and I did not like it at all. Maybe one day I'll make a video on popular books that I didn't like. I don't know though. We'll just have to see. But I went into this book having no idea how I would like it, and I loved it so much that I recommended it to multiple people. If you like kind of a spooky vibe, maybe in October you want something a little spooky, a little dark academia-y. This takes place in Salem, Massachusetts. You should check this out. It's really good. Another thing that you will find is I love books that have kind of the magical realism kind of vibe. So if that's not your vibe, that's okay. But that one, Lost Apothecary, some of the other ones, especially the next one I'm about to show you, also have that vibe. And the next one is Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. This is technically book one in the Practical Magic series. The same year that I read Code Girls, which was 2023, I read the whole entirety of the Practical Magic series from, I started in this one, book one, all the way to book four. So I didn't read them in release order, I read them in chronological order. And out of all four of them, this one was my favorite. It talks about how the original Owens woman gets to America and everything that goes along with that. And it's just so good. I love historical fiction, which I think is kind of the reason I love this. If you haven't read the prequels to the Practical Magic series, Rules of Magic and Magic Lessons, you gotta read those because they add a lot of context and I think they're really, really good. So Magic Lessons. And this next one is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I am a huge fan of Fleetwood Mac. I love Fleetwood Mac. And so I heard that a certain Fleetwood Mac song and performance particularly inspired kind of like the background of this story partially. And I was like, that sounds like something I'd be interested in. The format of this, how it's kind of that documentary style, was so captivating. The characters were, I feel like, really well fleshed out. It is such a good story. I love it. Just definitely not something that I think would typically be in my genre of reading, but something that I really, really enjoyed reading and will read again. So I love that one. This next one is something that makes my little nerdy heart so happy. I love Greek mythology. And have for a very, very, very long time. And within the past several years, I have really gotten into Greek mythology retellings. And one of my favorite authors that does these retellings is Madeline Miller. I have read all of her books, and this book is my favorite of the ones that she has written. And it's a favorite of many people, and that is Circe. When I tell you, I think about this book at least once a week. I am not lying to you. It is so good. It is so good. And if you want to get a really beautiful retelling about a character in Greek mythology that is not, I feel like, really talked about a lot, you need to read this book. You need to. And that's all I'm going to say on that because I'm not going to spoil it for you. It is beautiful. It is wonderful. You need to read it. This next one is a book that I also think about at least twice a week. I think about this one almost every day. And I'm not exaggerating to you when I do. And it is Wayward by Amelia Hart. Now, Amelia Hart also had a book come out recently called The Sirens. I talked about that in my summer reading suggestions. It was a book that I read this summer. But this one, I have no words. It's just so good. Look at the art on it too. I mean, it's beautiful. It's fantastic. Amelia Hart, this was her like debut novel, and she knocked it out of the park. That is crazy. And I admire her for it. And I love her for it because without her, we would not have this book. We would not have The Sirens. But this book in particular, time hoppy book. Again, I just love this book and the imagery of it. It's just, it's masterful. It's wonderful. I love it so much. So you should read this one. You should. Go get it right now from the library. Go get it from your neighbor. Go get it and read it because it's really good. All right. The last two I have are old classic favorites of mine. One I have already talked about, so I'm not going to really harp on it too much. It is The Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Goodness gracious, I've been talking a lot. This is a different version than the one that I showed in my video about where my lore started with reading because I own multiple copies of this book because I love it so much. It is just timeless. Classic, found family, beautiful, 10 out of 10. Whatever copy you get, you're going to enjoy it. So you need to get it. And my last book, which is my favorite book of all time, that I also own multiple copies of because I just love it so much, is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This book fundamentally altered my brain chemistry, as people say. I'm so thankful that I am the person I am now after I read this book. Harper Lee is crazy talented. And the way that the characters are written, the symbolism of this book, I read it as part of a class in college, which I think is a testament to the fact that I like it so much. I read it in a time where I was not really enjoying reading. Like, I really struggled when I was in college enjoying reading books. And this was assigned to me in a class as a sophomore, and I read it. And I loved it, and I still love it. I remember doing the project. We had to do like a presentation on it, and part of it was about the symbolism of the story. And other people in my group were like, whatever. And I was all about it because I connected with it on such a deep level, and it forever changed my thought process, the way that I view things. This is also one of my mom's favorite books too, so we kind of share that together. The movie I saw before I read the book, because I remember watching the movie when I was little. And since I have read this book, I got to see the adaptation on stage. It's a classic for a reason. And I don't care how often it's on the banned book list. It is my favorite book. Read banned books because they're the ones that you really need to read. I love this book so much. And I couldn't think of a better book to end the video with than this one because it is my all-time favorite. It can be literally life-changing. If you have not read it, you need to read it. So those are my top 10 favorite books of all time. I feel like I was a little bit chaotic in this. Just wacky. Maybe not. Maybe it's just me. I am sitting here talking to myself. So it's fine. But if you enjoyed this, if you like any of these books, please let me know. If you have some of your favorites that you think I would like based off of what I have shown you, please share that with me as well. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you later. Bye.